Welcome everyone, where we're going to be talking about your project manager this morning, which is your liver. You've just gone into your second day of detox and your liver is very busy today. It's gone into a different stage of detox. And as it goes through this stage, I'm going to be explaining to you what's happening in your liver. Your liver I call the project manager, because on a job site, all the plumbers come to the project manager, the painters come to the project manager. The project manager is orchestrating the job site. So that's what your liver's doing. It's orchestrating the job site, of course, which is the human body. So a few facts on the liver. The liver is the largest internal organ in the body, and the liver is the only organ in the body that has the ability to regrow. And when you understand the liver, when you understand what it does, and it's the role that it plays, you'll understand why God made it so. You see, cancer cannot get a hold on the body if the liver's working in optimum performance.
This is Dr. Barbara O'Neill, a renowned naturopath and health educator who has helped countless people cleanse and rejuvenate their livers naturally. This video is a must-watch if you're serious about improving your liver health and overall well-being. Then, watch this full video of Dr. Barbara O'Neill. First, let's start with
we're looking at the journey of glucose. So the first place that the liver will send the glucose, number one, is to the cell to be burnt as fuel. But on a high carbohydrate diet, you got a lot of glucose left over. And so now the body stores it in what I call the most amazing fuel, quick fuel supply in the body. It's called glycogen. They're little molecules of glucose just sitting in your muscle cell waiting to be used. Do you wonder how you had the energy to exercise this morning? We only gave you broth last night. You only had aloe lemon water this morning, and yet you did it. It's because of your glycogen stores. They're already sitting in your muscle cell, and as soon as you move the body requiring more, they just pluck it through the energy cycle. Pluck another one through the energy cycle. What an amazing process. It actually brings me to that verse in the Bible at Psalm 139 verse 14, where the Bible says, I will praise you, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knows right well. So number two, the glucose is stored as glycogen. I call glycogen the diabetic's best kept secret. Because if blood sugar goes low, what do? Get on the exercise bike. Release your glycogen stores. In fact, one young man, a diabetic, he said to me, why didn't anyone tell me about glycogen? Now I can understand his frustration because, wow. Let's go back to glucose. So on a high carbohydrate diet, we've still got glucose left over because the cell can only store so much. By the way, the liver stores a little bit, and this glycogen can be sent all over the body, whereas the glycogen that's in the muscle cell, it's like in a prison, it can only be used by the muscle cell. And when you think about it, that's the cell that has probably the most demand on it. So what's the body going to do with the rest? What's the liver going to do with the rest of the glucose? Well, we've got an amazing fuel depot, fuel supply. I call it the basement stores. You know what the basement stores are? They're the fat cells. And what's happening to Americans today? Whew. They're getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Barbara O'Neill underscores the importance of understanding how the body handles glucose and glycogen to prevent these issues. By managing carbohydrate intake and maintaining a balanced diet, we can support our liver in efficiently storing glycogen and minimizing the conversion of excess glucose into fat.
Would you agree with me? Yes. So let's have a look at cholesterol. It's a good time to look at it because the liver makes cholesterol. And by the way, it makes cholesterol according to the demand our body puts on it. And 80% of the cholesterol that the liver makes is made from glucose, and 20% of the cholesterol that the liver makes is made from fat. Now this information tells us straight away It's not the butter on the bread, it's the bread under the butter that's the problem. And that's what Atkins found. So let's have a look at cholesterol. There are two main types. One is high density lipoprotein called HDL, high density lipoprotein, and LDL. HDL is usually called the good guy, and the reason for that is it's the carrier. So it carries excess cholesterol from the blood back into the liver. That's why it's called the good guy. LDL is called the bad guy. But what you've got to remember is the body doesn't make anything bad. It has a role. So what is its role? Its role is that of a repairer and a rebuilder. So wherever there's damage, you're going to find LDL because it's the repairer and the rebuilder. But it plays another role. It delivers cholesterol to the brain because the brain loves cholesterol. Cholesterol to the brain. Now let me show you something briefly. We're going to look at this in further detail later. Glucose burns at 4 calories per gram. A calorie is a unit of energy. That's what glucose burns at. Whereas fat burns at 9 calories per gram. Can you see why the brain loves fat? Because fat is going to give more than twice the units of energy, and our brain cells, they're consuming fuel fast. Let's have a look at the blood vessel and how the cholesterol works in the blood vessel. Because of its low density, LDL is always on the edge. Because of its high density, HDL is always in the middle. Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, who wrote the book Put Your Heart in Your Mouth, she spends the first 4 chapters of her book defining what damages the arterial wall. See, the arterial walls are lined with little endothelium cells, and chemicals damage them. Heavy metals damage them. There's your mercuries. Also, what damages them is mold. And we're exposed to, she defines, the reason why it's 4 chapters, she defines all the different chemicals. They're in toothpaste, they're in food. What's going to plug the holes up, students? The LDL cholesterol, that's its role, that's its job. So it comes along and it plugs up. If it doesn't plug the hole up, we would bleed into the tissues. Can you see that? So they're like the Band-Aid. But the person doesn't realise that the mouldy house is killing them. The person doesn't realise the 4,000 chemicals that are in a cigarette. So they keep smoking. They don't realise the danger in their washing detergents, in their toothpaste. So can you see that it's still happening? And they read an article that says, no, mercury does not kill you at all. Well, they haven't read the science. You know, it's a neurotoxin. Can you see what's happening? Something else is happening. So all through the bloodstream, we've got little molecules of protein. When a person is on a high carbohydrate diet, releasing a lot of glucose into the glucose connects with the protein molecules, and these little combinations become sticky and they stick. And let's say we've got a narrow piece here and they come along and oops, they've caused a blockage. That is the number 1 cause of heart disease. That is the number 1 cause of a stroke, is this little blockage here from the movement of the combination of the glucose and the protein making it sticky molecules. On a low carbohydrate diet, you haven't got that process happening. To blame cholesterol for heart disease is like blaming the fire trucks for the fire. It's like blaming the ambulances for the accidents. Well, they must have caused it. Have you noticed that they're always there? Can you see that reasoning? We have quite a few books in our library at Misty Mountain, and I'll write them down at the end of the lecture. I realise I didn't write down yesterday's books. I'll do it all at the end of this lecture. The Great Cholesterol Con by Dr. Malcolm Kendrick. Notice what he calls his book. He's a cardiovascular surgeon, the Great Cholesterol Con. And this is what he said in his book. For the first time, normal levels of a normal, vital body substance is being called a disease. We have a book, an Australian doctor, Dr. Peter Dingle. His book is The Great Cholesterol Deception. We have another book called The Great Cholesterol Myth by Johnny Bowden. And there is an ebook by another cardiovascular surgeon, Dr. Dwight Lundell, called The Great Cholesterol Lie. We have another book called The Great Cholesterol Hoax. We're running out of words. And in her book, Put Your Heart in Your Mouth, Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride, she's saying the same thing. These people don't know each other. They're from all over the world and they've come to the same conclusion. It is not cholesterol. In the industrialized nations today, neck to neck, as I said, with cancer. So what's your liver doing today? We're not giving you enough food to run on. And so some of your fat cells are getting broken down to give the glucose that you need, but something else a little bit more sinister is being released. And that is the fat-soluble toxins that have been coming into our bodies over many years. Now this explains why your body odor might be a little worse than usual, why your breath might be a little worse than usual, why your what you're leaving in the toilet might have a worse odor than usual, because your fat cells, as they're getting broken down to give you that excess glucose or extra glucose that you need, the fat-soluble toxins are being released. They're back into the blood. The liver says, oh, not this guy again. The liver's about to wrap it up in fat and store it, and the liver says, oh, hang on, we're at Living Springs Retreat. We're receiving the nutrients necessary to break that down to a water-soluble state, because it can't be released in a fat-soluble state. So what your liver is doing is taking it through 3 phases. Phase 1 of the liver detox began yesterday on your first day of juicing. And in phase 1, your liver took this fat-soluble toxin.
These small changes can make a big difference in your well-being. Remember, a healthy liver means better digestion, more energy, and a stronger immune system. Don't forget to subscribe for updates on future videos. Share your own experiences with hormonal balance in the comments below. We love hearing from you. Thanks for watching.